On the 23rd of June, the British public cast their vote to leave the European Union.
The British people have spoken and the answer is we're out.
That the UK has voted out.
The UK votes to leave the European Union.
Since then, there's been fights.
You can throw me out of this parliament right here, right now, this afternoon.
Brexit means Brexit.
And there's been promises. In this short series, I'll be looking at what could change in a Britain beyond Brexit. The Manchester Central Convention Centre, the Tyne Metro Modernisation Programme, and even a museum dedicated to football. These are just some of the projects which have been funded by what's called the European Regional Development Fund. But whilst this fund has not drawn cash from Britain's share of EU money, the fund, which is only valid until 2020 under current government, is expected to be replaced with an alternative if they win the general election. But despite assurances, future funding for projects may be left hanging in the balance if a deal is not reached.
Schemes that you describe will surely be at the back of the queue, way behind NHS, education, defence, housing, transport. Funds for selected schemes were always protected by EU funding. Now they won't have that same protection. Totally inaccurate figures were bandied about, and the substantial rebate and benefits ignored.
Some would say that the EU don't have a right to tell us what to spend our cash on. What do you think about that?
The country certainly won't be awash with cash after Brexit. Funds will go into the central pot and used for whatever priorities are decided upon by the government.
But perhaps the discrepancy of funding from the European Union for such projects may be caused by the uncertainty as current UK policy and legislation will need to be repealed ahead of our leave date in 2019. Some academics have suggested that the knock-on effect of changes to policy will filter across other areas down to the way we make the law.
The European Union will continue to influence the decision-making in Britain. In environmental policy, much of the prescription of what can be done has been set by the European Union. Once the UK leaves, there's going to be a bill to take all this EU legislation and put it into national control.
Professor Zito has been keen to clear up any confusion with what the European Union actually affects in Britain.
Healthcare, welfare policy, the European Union is actually only indirectly involved. Areas like trade, essentially the European Union has been doing a lot of it for quite some time. When Britain leaves, they are going to have to reconstitute a whole bureaucracy dealing with trade and so forth.
Whilst negotiations begin, it's not yet clear how Brexit will affect our day-to-day lives. But one thing that is certain, our departure from the EU will force change. Jim Scott, Britain beyond Brexit.